Alejandro is from Mexico. The Mayans are from Mexico. That might be a real one. Well, this is a replica. It is a replica, and you know, this is the average size. The average size of a heart is a closed fist. And this is an amazing machine. And today I'm not going to talk about how this points to a creative designer, a perfect designer, a creator. Today I'm not going to talk about that, but when you see this machine, you go like, wow, this is amazing. A heart, for example, it takes only 16 seconds to bomb the blood to hold the body, to the whole body. 16 seconds. The heart, for example, it's able to pump a total of 100,000 liters of blood a day. It is amazing. Now, those are not necessarily the characteristics that I'm impressed about the heart. Because in the Bible, there's plenty of reference. You know, I'm going to leave this. I'm going to give my heart to Paul. Will you take care of that, please? It is not what is the most impressive. In the biblical text, we found so many references to the heart. Now, the scholars use two words. One, translated in the wrong way. And the other one is the word cardia that we use right now today when we talk about cardiac attacks, or cardiology. You know, it's the word cardia. That word, it's all over the New Testament, all over the New Testament. In passages like, you remember, love the God with all your mind, with all your soul, and with all your heart. Well, that's the word. You remember when Paul says to the churches, I tell you this because I have you in my heart. I have you in my cardia. That references is all over the scripture, but there's one passage, there's one phrase from Jesus that captivates my mind, that intrigues me so much. And the story is this. He was going back to Galilee. And when he got there, he started preaching, he starts healing people, and in the same day, he was preaching, he was healing people, and he got a messenger from John the Baptist. And the messenger said, are you the Messiah or not? And he responded, tell John that people are seeing, people are being healed, and people are being rescued. The same day, he went to the synagogue. The same day, he debated with the Pharisees. And he had a huge confrontation because he called them children of Satan. And they got upset. I don't know, I mean, people sometimes get offended too easily, right? So someone in the synagogue make a life threat, and Jesus flees the place. So he was going to the mountain for the purpose of having some rest. But guess what? The crowds follow him. And they want him to heal more people. So one guy came that he was a demon possessor, and he couldn't speak and he couldn't see. And guess what? Jesus healed him. At the moment, the crowd was, you know, I don't know what the word that I'm looking. The crowd was excited. Even a woman on the back shouted, "Blessed are the breasts that give you milk." And, you know, if someone in the back shouts something like that, it's kind of weird today, right? But then it was like, this is my best compliment that I'm giving you. That happened. But at the same time, there was haters. There was some Pharisees in the crowd that were speaking and saying that Jesus expelled the demons in the name of Beelzebub. And, you know, I don't know. I don't know if it was that Jesus was tired. I don't know if it was the absence of food, because the Bible doesn't say that he ate. And, you know, maybe it was the heat, or maybe he knew that he needed to teach a lesson. And he puts them in their place. He tells them directly, he says, every kingdom divided against itself will be ruined, and every city or household divided against itself will not stand. If Satan drives out Satan, he is divided against himself. And then he explains to them that whoever speaks against the Holy Spirit, that blasphemy is never going to be forgiven. But then comes my favorite part. And I know that you hear every week, you hear the preacher, this is my favorite verse of the Bible, but this is actually one of my favorites. And it's in verse 34, it says, you brood of vipers, how can you that are evil say anything good? For the mouth speaks what the heart is full of. Can we read the last part? For the mouth speaks what the heart is full of. Now I have a confession. I had to Google how to pronounce brood of vipers. Because I was pronouncing it wrong. I was saying broth of vipers. And I don't know about you, I have tasted menudo, but never broth of vipers, and I'm never gonna do that. And then in another passage, you will read, a good man brings good things out of the good stored in him. And an evil man brings evil things out of the evil stored up in him. Now, this concept of interconnection between heart, mouth, and actions, it's not the first time that Jesus preached about that. You remember when he said, but the things that come out of a person's mouth come from the heart, from the cardia, right? And this defiles them. For out of the heart comes the evil thoughts, murder, adultery, sexual immorality, theft, false testimony, and slander. And Jesus talked about that interconnection of the heart, the mouth, and the actions, because that was an ancient Jewish concept. You will remember this passage. You will remember, above all else, guard your heart, for everything you do flows from it. Where do we want to go? Have you ever wondered why you do the things you do? Have you ever wondered why that person, that X or Y person, does the thing and says the things he says? Have you ever confronted yourself why you act the way you act? Well, the Bible has a response, actually. And it says, a water reflects the face. So one's life reflects the heart. The things that we do come from our heart. Now, the reality is that our hearts have been broken. Our hearts have been broken. Sometimes they remain broken for our entire life. And our actions reflects that. Broken hearts reflect their brokenness through words, through actions. Our hearts are so fragile that they can be broken so easily. A betrayal, a separation, a crisis, a person, an injustice, abuse, neglect. Our hearts can be broken. You know how the word heart is in Spanish? Corazón. It comes from the word cuore in Italiano. That comes from the English word core. Everything is interconnected. Cuore, every time I say something in Italian, I do this, I don't know why. Cuore, corazón, core. In the core of your life, there has been brokenness. You know, in order to get ahead, we have to realize that our hearts have been broken. Now, the question I have for you is, do you think that God can heal a broken heart?
Amen.
I know that you know that the response. He already did. Through Jesus. Through Jesus, he did. But how's the process, Luke? How's the process of healing a broken heart? Well, I would like to suggest that this is the procedure. First, you have to travel to your past. You have to travel to your past. Some of our wounds happened when we were little, in our childhood, and they were caused by people close to us. Some of that brokenness of your heart happened when you were so little and innocent and had no clue, and you thought that person that was telling you, I love you, and for that reason I do this, and you believe that person was saying the truth, that love you, but why the abuse? According to the CDC, approximately 40 million children will be exposed to violence during childhood. 10% of children are exposed to domestic violence annually. 25% are exposed to at least one event during their lifetime. Children who witness domestic violence are at an increased risk of dating violence and have more difficult time with partnership and parenting. 80 to 90% of domestic violence victims abuse or neglect their family, their children. This is real. Our hearts have been broken. You know, Bell Hooks, in a book that is called All About Love, she says, an overwhelming, Alejandro, majority of us come from a dysfunctional family in which we were taught that we were not okay, where we were shamed, verbally or physically or abused and emotionally neglected. Even as we're also taught to believe that we were loved. We were told that we were loved, but then there was neglect and abuse. You have to travel to your past. And you have to make an effort to understand. In my personal life, I had to go back to my past and understand why my father wasn't there. Why? And try to understand that my father and my mother were human beings that made mistakes. I had to make a soul differentiation of myself and go there and watch the scene. You have to go back to your past. It could be useful to make a family tree. You know, I did this exercise a couple of years ago. I did a family tree of all my family members, and to find the great things and also the not so great things. And I found more not so great things. But also, when doing that, I learned about myself. I learned the dangers that who could I become? It is important. You have to go back to your past. We can never go back and fix things, of course, but we can go forward with the things we learned from the past. We can find love our heart longs for, but not until we let go of grief. Why to bother in doing that? Why to bother in going back to my past? Well, because one's life reflects the heart. For the mouth speaks what the heart is full of. Right? Second, I think it's very important to find the positive things in my life. You know, memory is a mental capacity that allows us to register and to keep and to bring back experiences. The Spanish Academy of the Language defines memory as the power in which the past is alive. But the truth is, we have a very selective memory, right? Mm-hmm. If you ask money, you know, lend money from your dad, and generally you forget that you owe money to your dad. Generally, if you let me read it. Let me read it. We have a very selective memory. Sometimes we decide, consciously or not, what to remember. For example, if you borrow money from your dad, usually you forget. But if your dad owes you money, you remember. That's a miracle. And that's also selective memory. For some reason, in my experience as a minister, I have seen that so many times. People that leave the church, not in the English, in the Spanish, that's what I work. They leave the church because somebody didn't fulfill their needs or didn't provide the attention that they want. I'm talking about the Spanish church, okay? Nobody, please make things here. And they will leave because nobody put attention. But they forgot all the other times that I, or the other people, other ministers gave attention to that person. What happened to the other times? We have a very selective memory, but we have to train it. And the way to train it is, yes, I have experienced so many bad things in my life. But you know what? I have made peace with my past, and I choose to remember the great things in my life. And I choose to remember the day I got baptized. I choose to remember the day I came to this church. I choose to remember the day I married this woman. I choose to remember the day I carried first child, I choose to remember the positive things. My heart, your heart, needs healing. And you have to find the right things. For some reason, we tend to focus. I practice that word. Also, I practice that word. And I learned how to pronounce it right here. For some reason, we tend to focus on the negative. I avoided this word for so many years, Joe. So many years. I feel relieved today. I remember watching La La Land with my family, and we went to the movies, and after, great movie. Have you watched it? La La Land? Great movie, beautiful, terrific. And after the movie, they asked me, so what do you think? And I was, I love it. I just hate musicals. Why you're so negative? You were on the right path. It was a great movie. Okay, leave it there. Why you have to end in the negative? Leave it there on the positive. We have to go back to the past, but also we have to keep the good things, the positive things. It is not easy, but it's a process. Now, you might be thinking, why to bother in doing that? Well, I'm going to tell you why. Because one's life reflects what is in the heart. For the mouth speaks what the heart is full of. Mm-hmm. The mouth speaks what the heart is full of. You know what would be helpful too? To find a mentor. Find a mentor. Have you ever been in a situation that bothers you so much and you don't know what to do but after talking to X or Y person that you trust, you feel better, you feel relieved? I do. I don't know the year, but I remember when Hurricane Rita, not Katrina, Rita, you remember? When Rita happened after Katrina. So when I heard that a hurricane was coming and remind me of the damage in New Orleans, I was, I'm going to stay here. My wife had family in Kansas. I'm going to drive all the way to Kansas. And I'm going to go to Canada if it's possible. But I don't care if I'm not. And I was on my way, almost leaving the house, when I called my mentor at the time. I said, hey, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to leave the city. I'm going to go to Kansas. And he said, Alejandro, that's a mistake. That's a mistake. Just come to the church. We are going to be there. We're going to spend the night. And don't leave the city. And I am so glad that I called him. You remember what happened in 45? Mm-hmm. So many people stranded there with no gas. And it was horrible. And it was horrible. And in church, we had the guitar, and we were playing, and we were eating, and we had such a great time. It's very important that we talk to someone. I believe in the importance of therapy, for example, spiritual direction, mentorship, especially if you are in a position of leadership. And being a parent is a position of leadership. Even if you work at a church or at a corporate office, you need a mentor. You need a therapist. You need a spiritual director, someone that you can talk about the things that are here, that you can't talk to anybody else. The process of healing is, yes, going back to your past and take a look to the things that happened to you, but also finding the positive, but also talking to someone. Why? I'm going to tell you something, and this is not in my script, so maybe I screw up. Oh, I don't know what the word, but something I discovered. You remember the sermon about the Legos? I did the same sermon with a group of Hispanic, the Latinos. When I said, do something, you know what they did? They immediately thought, okay, we need to work together to do something. When I did this in other places with American, don't be offended, don't be offended. With Americans, the first thing was to work individually. Like, I can do this by myself. This individualistic society in which we live is what had us with broken hearts. You need more people, or other people. Find someone, find a mentor. You might be thinking, why did you bother about that? Because one's life reflects the heart. The mouth speaks what the heart is full of. Right? Yeah, it's this problem of the Superman. I call it the Superman syndrome. I don't need the help of anybody else. This guy boarded a plane, and he was not wearing the seatbelt. So the flight attendant said, "Hey man, put the seatbelt." And he was, "Oh no, Superman doesn't need seatbelts." And the flight attendant said, "Superman doesn't need planes to fly. So put it or you're out." You are not Wonder Woman. You were brokenhearted when you were young, when you were a child, or in the process of your life. You are not Superman. You had a heart broken and you need to fix it. You need to heal it. You need more people. We will continue the healing process of our heart when we find a mentor, a therapist, a pastor, a spiritual director to speak with a true friend. Changes everything. The same author that I mentioned, and I'm just finishing this sermon, the author is Bell Hooks. If you have a chance, find the book. It's all about love. She says, usually it requires some therapeutic intervention, whether through literature that teaches and enlighten us, or therapy, before many of us can critically examine our childhood experiences and acknowledge the ways in which they have had an impact on our adult behavior. One last thing. Go back to your past. Analyze that past. Don't be afraid of that. The first time that you go to your past, it's going to be difficult. That's true. But the second time, because of the first time that you went, the second time will be easier. The third time will be easier. Now, go back to your past, find the positive things, find a mentor, but also don't forget about forgiveness and pray. Forgiveness and pray. They're interrelated. One cannot happen without the other. Sounds simple, but it is not. It is a process too. But it is the greatest medicine to the wounds of the heart. Forgiveness defeats bitterness. It does. And resentment. Forgiveness breaks the cycle of violence. You did that to me, now I'm gonna do this to you. Oh, you did that to me? Now I'm gonna do this to you. Oh, really? Never ends until someone forgives. You know, bitterness and resentment take a huge toll on your mental and physical health. Now, quick question, can prayer heal a broken heart? Well, yes, but not in the way that you might be thinking. You see, I think God already gave us the healness of our heart through Jesus Christ, right? We already have access to this healing. But prayer is there just to listen our own heart. Prayer is like an stethoscope. Is that the word? A stethoscope? You know? Okay. And then you can hear. When you pray, you hear what you're saying. Today, when we have lunch for Father's Day, I'm going to pray. And I'm going to say, Lord, no more socks. Please, the Harley Davidson that I asked you. You know, that tells what is in my heart. When you pray, you are listening if you have been healed or not. When you ask, Lord, just give me an opportunity to revenge, or Lord, I hate this person and I don't want to be with them or with her or with him, whatever. I mean, when you pray, you listen to your praise. Because what is in your heart comes through your mind, through your mouth. Your prayers reflect what is in your heart. Above all things, remember, forgive and you will be forgiven. Why to bother in doing that, you might be thinking? Well, because one's life reflects the heart. Because the mouth speaks what the heart is full of. Church, the process of healing a heart is complicated. It is not easy. It will take for you to go to your past and find the positive things in your life, to find a mentor and forgiveness and pray. Above all, remember, that you are not alone. You are not alone. The Lord is close to the brokenhearted. He rescues those whose spirits are crushed. May God the Creator bless you, heal your heart. May you begin the journey of healing. May you live in grace and mercy and forgiveness. May God bless you.